Fashion Podcast. I am your host, Lexi Silverstein. You'll never believe who I have on this week's episode. They're a fashionista and social media content creator. How is it going, Mark?
It is going good. I'm very excited to be here. I don't know, I'm ready. I'm ready to get into the questions about fashion, making things go.
Yes, I am so excited to have you today. So for those who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so first of all, hi, I'm Mark. And basically, I currently am shifting my focus in fashion to my social media. So definitely primarily Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And on all of those platforms, I really love to promote just like the accessibility of fashion through DIYs. So you'll see a lot of DIYs on there. You'll see some hauls. You'll see me putting together a lot of outfits, and just kind of really also trying to push for gender fluidity throughout fashion and showing that, the binary that has been forced on us all for years is something that needs to slowly dissipate within all of us, because it's so fun to be able to branch out and explore so many different parts of fashion. So yeah, I feel like that's a pretty good cap on what I'm trying to do with my social media presence.
That is amazing. Well, how did you really first get into fashion?
So, interestingly enough, I think it honestly started with my toys when I was like a kid. I was obsessed with Barbie dolls. Like, I
Mhm.
still have my first Barbie doll. She's like up in one of my closets, a little.
Aw.
And I'm like, I have to put her up there because like she's the reason all of this exists. But like, I just would be so fascinated by like their makeup and like all of their different outfits. And I just remember like around probably like I always loved it as a kid, but then I could put a name on it around like third grade. I was like, I really want to be a fashion designer. Like I need to be like immersed in clothing. I don't know as much about a designer anymore, but I was on the right track. Like third grade, they knew what was going on. So yeah, I would honestly say my toys greatly influenced me, and I kind of still really reference back with a lot of my looks now and like my inspirations. I just gravitate what my inner child would gravitate towards, like kind of the things that I feel like, when you're a child, you're like, I'm too old to be playing with this anymore. Like I'm a boy playing with a Barbie, that's not allowed. It's like, okay, like when you're an adult, you can be like, I need to revisit that and really let my creativity meet in the middle.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's so interesting. I feel like when I talk to people that are interested in fashion or have a career in fashion, like it's something that they kind of almost always knew. Like me personally, like it's like I ever since I could crawl, I would make my way to my mom's closet and I would play with her shoes and her jewelry and whatever. And then like it moved on to me planning my outfits every single night, the night before I went to like school, kindergarten, whatever. Like I was more
Yeah.
stressed about what I was gonna wear than going to like the first day of kindergarten. Much like how I am now. I'm like, I need to find the perfect outfit, and I don't give a shit what I'm like gonna learn in college today. But like, at least I need to look good. Um, I always think it's so interesting that just like people who are in the fashion industry are just like so aware of it at like a young age. I feel like.
No, definitely. Like when you were saying like planning outfits, like as a kid and everything, like I literally remember like I would plan my birthday outfits like months in advance as a 4-year-old. Like, babe, we knew something was gonna come later in life. Like if that is what I'm doing as a 4-year-old instead of like running around the yard, like playing in dirt, like
Right.
we see,
Definitely. You
we
you
see,
see you see how it's
yeah.
gonna play into the rest of your life. Well, how did you first, I feel like, get in like not just fashion, but more into like the hands-on, like I'm gonna upcycle things, I'm gonna make my own clothing. Like how did you get really into like design?
Okay, so actually a very interesting story. Kind of my like, I guess social media identity in terms of like DIYs was low-key an accident, because I think it was last year, like, I know corsets were like what everybody like obsessed with. Like, none of us could put a corset down. So I really wanted to make a corset with like a bunch of different graphic t-shirts just like put together. And so I made one and I posted it on TikTok, and then someone just commented like, can you drop the pattern for this? And I was like, I mean, I just like traced a corset I had, but like make a pattern, like why not? And then I uploaded a pattern and then it like blew up. And then it like put all these people to my Instagram, and I was like, wait, like everybody really liked that. Like everybody is making this now. And then I was like, hold on, I could do like a butterfly top, I could do a bat top, I could do a start. And like then all of them started like being their own little entity of like DIYs that a whole group of people were enjoying. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool, because it's like I'm allowing like accessible fashion because the patterns are free. I like put them in my Instagram bio, and then like people are enjoying the pieces that they're making themselves. So I don't know. I thought that that was a really cool experience, because like I did think I was going to be a design major like all throughout like high school. Even like I literally went into college like as a design major, and then I switched it to merchandising. But yeah, that kind of just came out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, all right, well.
You're like, wait, I can like profit off of this, might as well.
Yeah, like literally, I was like, hold on, like maybe I'm like not half bad at like designing stuff. Like create a little bit of a pattern here. Like this is a step.
You're like, oh my God, wait, guys, am I like good at this? Thank you.
Literally,
you guys
I
wanna, like use my pattern? Thanks.
Did not think y'all were gonna like care that much. I literally like made this for the random person that requested it, but glad y'all love it.
So how did you, when you made that corset, did you already like know how to sew? Was that something that like you had learned also at a young age, or just like learned at a certain time or in high school or whatever?
So actually in around 5th grade, my grandmother, she just taught me how to sew, and I still have the sewing machine that she gave me. Like it's literally the one that I use like right here. And yeah, so she just kind of taught me the basics. And to be honest, I think sewing is one of those things that like everybody's like, that's so cool, like that you can like make your own clothes. But, like I could never sew, because that was like my mentality for forever. Like even though I was like taught the basics in like 5th grade, like yeah, like sewing is like way too hard. And then I literally made that corset and I was like, wait, it's literally not, like it's just like putting some fabric together, the outfit. So yeah, I don't know, I think that like sewing is something that is not as scary as everyone loves to make it out to be. Like with all the crazy patterns that have like tons of different like pleats and, you know, darts in it, like that gets a little bit more intense. But like the basics, like if you're using my patterns, like you'll be able to use a sewing machine.
Yeah.
Very
I feel like another common pattern I'm seeing with these fashion lovers is we all have our grandmothers to thank, because I as well learned to sew from my grandmother and my mom. And I feel like I have talked to so many people that are just like, yeah, when I was like young, my grandma sewed. And so then I was just like with her, and then she just like taught me how to sew. So I'm like, it's such a common pattern. Like, thanks, thanks, grandma.
So many people like grandmas keeping us in check, making
yeah,
sure we
they really are. They're really making our careers out here.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, like.
So that's interesting that you said that you went into college with a design major and then you switched to merchandising. Where do you go to college?
So I'm actually taking a gap year from currently, just because right after, so I kind of had like, I got to college like my freshman year in 2019, and then COVID. So basically I had like one semester freshman year, and then like everything else was online, and I was already not having a super good time in college. I just like not really vibing with the curriculum. I didn't feel like I was being like challenged enough. Like as a fashion student, I felt like it was all very base level things that I had surpassed. So it was a bold decision, but I do feel very good in it. Just taking a gap year from just the mess of all the online stuff and everything. I was like, I need a little bit of a mental health break to focus on other pursuits for now. Like school is not indefinitely a no in the future, but just for right now, I was like, I do need to give myself the space to grow, or I feel like I'm gonna like burn out in a way that's gonna be really not helpful for me. I feel like set me back to keep pushing through it more than it would to just take a pause and reevaluate where I'm putting my energy.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is, I mean, just in general, a very, you know, mature decision to like really like look things over and be like, what is best for me right now, you know? And I, sorry.
So definitely be so scary because first of all, I'm sure you have gotten some like looks when you say like when you talk about fashion like as a career and stuff because it's just something in people's minds, especially older people that are like, well, good luck getting a job in that. It's like you actually do not realize like, so you are wearing clothing right now, right? Like the clothing industry and fashion industry is so insanely huge that like that's not the problem here. It's like, so already being a fashion major and then on top of that, like taking, you know, a gap year and then having a focus on social media, it's got the old people confused. They're like, what?
They are rolling over in their graves right now.
You're not like, what? You're not working yourself to death and like doing something that you hate. Like,
explain. Yeah. You want to go through, you don't want to go through your life doing something you hate? What do you mean? What?
Yeah, like I'm confused by that. But confused, but we're vibing.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's like definitely like you said, like the older generations, like that's not something that they're used to. But like nowadays, like any like we were even talking about this in my class and how like mental health nowadays is such like an important issue. Like it's not something that we need to shy away from. It's not something that we need to like hold inside and whatever. It's something that we just talk about. And so, you know, taking that gap year, whether it's for mental health or to find yourself or whatever, is something that like in our generation is not like that strange of a thing. But you like you mentioned, I kid you not, literally last night I was on FaceTime with my boyfriend and he's a pre-med student. We're very different paths. We're like the classic definition of like your fashion girlfriend and then your pre-med boyfriend, like classic definition. Literally. And we were just like talking or whatever. And I started talking about how like the fashion industry like is like being in that, saying that I go to fashion school, people automatically think I'm like stupid or whatever. And I'm like, well, actually, I had a 4.0 GPA, 4.8 weighted GPA, and I graduated high school early, bitch. But, exactly. But like you said, people wear clothes on a day-to-day basis. I don't think there is anything else that we do other than eat, sleep, and drink that is on a day-to-day basis. So it's so interesting how it's like so like looked down upon, but yet it's literally something that we like need on a day-to-day basis. And then I quoted the iconic Meryl Streep lyric where she talks with, it's the scene with the two belts that are both blue, you know, that one. And then she goes, well, you think that like you made a decision today to wear something that like makes you so different from everyone, that because you're not in love with fashion, but actually the color blue that you're wearing was Oscar de la Renta from 2002, and it was actually made for you from millions of people with millions of dollars and whatever. And I was like full on quoting the exact quote, like word for word. And I was like, now anytime someone makes fun of the fashion industry, I'm just gonna start quoting the Meryl Streep lyric or quote.
I mean, it's genuinely so true. And just like as a microcosm off of like that quote itself, it's so interesting because like all throughout high school, like I would be like experimenting with things that like people were making fun of me for in
Mm-hmm.
the present, and then I look 2 or 3 years later and like, what are all y'all wearing? Okay, all right, yeah, like so
Oh, interesting.
yeah, literally, like it's such a thing where it's like people that love to act like they're excluded from the realm of fashion. Like fashion is an art form that like transcends like literally like it's not just people that are like interested in fashion, like its effects will hit everybody, you know, like,
Yeah.
and so like is such a like movement in terms of like the political climate, social
Mm-hmm.
climate. It's affected by everything, and so
Everything. It's
like
literally a reflection of the times.
exactly. Like I think we can obviously see that even now, just like
Mm-hmm.
COVID, I feel, or well, while in COVID, I feel like there's a major influx of like a lot of people being into fashion suddenly because it was like, you know, we're all in our rooms. So, like,
Yeah.
what are you going to do other than like put on a cute little outfit or like put
Right.
on makeup? And now leaving it, I have just been seeing so much like futuristic like clothing and everything. And I think that that's speaks so much to like
Right.
the push forward that we're all making to like expand and like really get crazy with our clothing because nothing is guaranteed and like we need to have fun while we can like
Exactly. Exactly. Um, no, yeah, it's so interesting how like people, even with like the social media industry and like being like an influencer, like so many people like laugh at it. But I'm like, you do understand, like I make more money than you in a single post than you could at your 9 to 5 in like 3 weeks, sir.
yeah, no it's like I definitely try to you know like I will always be humble when discussing, but if somebody comes at me in a negative way and hey babe, like I just want to let you know, like, this is definitely a valid career because the
Yeah.
numbers for themselves. Like, that's not my mouth, but the number will speak for itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I won't say anything until you piss me off, and then I will. You cannot hold me back at that point.
Yeah, say what you want, but like you could do it too. That's the thing is like consistency. Like, because I have definitely told so many of my friends, like, just try to encourage them to really
Right.
like cultivate their own personal style and like share it with the world. I think it's
Right.
like so fun when like I think a lot of people have this idea that like with social media and kind of making it your job, there's only like so much room left. Like, oh, we've already got like Emma Chamberlain and Devin Carlson and like the people at the top, like there can never be any more fashion influencers. Like, how could I ever do that? Like, because that was definitely like the approach that I was taking. I was like, oh my God, like all these huge people that are like so amazing, so talented. Like, I don't know if I could like ever, like, who would want to follow me? Like, that was like my view like 4 years ago or something. And now
Mm-hmm.
I'm literally like, whoever feels connected to what I'm putting out. Like it's like that's what it is about is like just sharing your story through fashion and letting people connect with that because I think where people go wrong is they think that doing Shein hauls and like fitting this like certain type of like Pinterest board style is going to get them all the traction in the world that they want and that's not what people are connected to. Like
No.
maybe in quarantine that worked because it was like a cheap shot at like, you know, viral content
Right.
like we've all, but at the end of the day, people want somebody to connect with not only on a fashion level, but also like on a personal level where they realize like fashion isn't something that's like so scary and so like far off, like so out of touch, you know, like
Right.
it's like you can also indulge in this.
Definitely. And I think that, you want to like be someone on social media that you would follow. And personally, I would like I only follow people that are authentic and, you know, like doing different things, not just doing the classic Shein haul, like like I follow you, and like I followed you because I loved that you were like upcycling things and making things and just being so unique and cool. And like that's how, like if that's who I want to follow, you know, like if I wanted to follow myself, what content would I be putting out there? So like
Yeah.
I always want to put out like authentic, like I just don't like following people as much that are like my life is perfect.
Yeah.
And it's great to have that. Like if that's how you want to be on social media, that's fine. Like I'm not here to judge anyone either. It's just like personally, I don't want to follow people that are like my life is perfect. I want to follow people like Emma Chamberlain, um, who like talks about mental health or just shows like her day on a day-to-day basis, or like and every aspect of it, like whether or not she's having a mental breakdown or like whatever.
Yeah.
And so like I personally like then take my social media and be like, okay, well, if I wanted to follow me, what about me would I follow? And then I like post like, okay, like today I'm not really feeling my body, I'm not gonna lie, like I like don't like the way it looks, so let me post about it and see who else relates to this, to show that I'm, you know, not the only one. And then not only do I benefit from that because people are swiping up on my story saying like, girl, like saying like it's been a really hard day, like whatever, like let's talk about this. But then also people that are following me realize that they're also not the only one, and then they're seeing like, oh, like there's someone else who's also feeling like this. So anyways, I think that the Shein hauls, well, personally I really hate Shein, so I don't think the Shein hauls are
Yeah.
great, but I think hauls and whatever are great.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but I mean I do hauls all the time, like thrifting hauls, but I
Yeah.
also love seeing that like authentic piece of influencers nowadays.
No, definitely. I think that it's like really important, like what you were saying, just kind of like almost, I think for a long time, the idea of like influencers or whatever is this like unattainable, like,
Mm-hmm.
fear of like, you can't reach them because they're so famous and rich and
Right.
like relatable. And I think people like Emma Chamberlain have definitely broken that down where like her podcast is something that's just like, I feel like a lot of people lean on for comfort
Yeah.
because she'll be talking sometimes and I'm like, girl, are we like living the same life? Like,
You're like,
what?
wait, are we the same?
No, like I'm like, okay, like I feel like we're on FaceTime right now. It definitely does do such an amazing job of like, you know, really opening that conversation up to her followers, even at such a such a like, you know, place of success that she has met, where it's like, you know, she has so many people watching her versus like, you know, more micro influencers. I think it's really important to like have your DMs open and your comment section open, not for necessarily trauma dumping. I think sometimes some people on the internet can get a little too comfortable with that they see, and it's like, okay, babe, I love the effort, but
Noted.
maybe let's take that one to a therapist, not me. But like, I totally think that, you know, really allowing people to see like a real side of you, because I'm very like drawn to people where I'm like, okay, this isn't a person that is insanely rich, that has everything that they could ever want, that's like got it all laid out for them and it looks so perfect, lighting is everything. I'm like, I kind of want to see somebody that's like in their bedroom, like on the floor, like cutting some shit up, made it look so insanely cool, and like they're talking, like I want to hear your voice, I want to hear shit, talk about your day in the middle of your DIY if you're doing it, or your video. Like, I don't know, I just think it's so fun when somebody like gets to showcase their personality online versus essentially just like a little robot that you're watching like change outfits. Like, that's
Right.
pleasing to the eye, and like very very cool videos can be made like that, but like I think it also is super important to just like really put your personality in there. And I think like, you know, places like YouTube and TikTok like are really good for that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. And I definitely think, I mean, like again, having those haul videos, I do haul videos all the time. It's just about balance, you know? Like one day I'll post a haul video and the next day I'll be like, bitch, today was a hard fucking day and I'm sobbing in my room. Like
No, I'm like, sometimes I do have to have a fat little social media break. I'm like, girls, y'all know I'm gonna get back to you when I can, but I am mentally ill, so there's that.
Yes, there is that. Well, going back to the college topic, you said that you switched from design to merchandising. What was appealing about the merchandising aspect of it?
So I think that design is so like it's the most beautiful thing in my opinion. Like it is the most beautiful art form for me. But I think that just seeing firsthand, because one of my best friends, she is a designer, and just kind of seeing firsthand the um amount of like work that a lot of designers have to put in, and also just like the exploitation
Mm-hmm.
from like higher ups from designers. It's just like I think if you've got it going for you, yes, you're doing amaze. But also it can be hard to kind of get a foothold in that particular industry. And not saying that in any way to discourage like anyone that wants to be in design. I think just for me personally,
Mm-hmm.
know where my passions lie. I think you have to be really, really passionate about design to like keep it pushing. And I love styling. Like styling is like my like what makes me feel the most alive is when I put together a good outfit. Like I have a few in my brain of my Halloween looks that are coming up. I've already
Oh my
shot two,
God.
and I I just have to say like they are like it. I'm very proud of my work. So like, yeah, like I'm a Virgo, so when I'm like on it, I'm like okay, like
Okay.
we're going.
Yep.
So yeah, I think just like going back to like styling and putting together a moment is what appealed to me so much about merchandising, because it can go so many different ways. You can be a stylist, you can be a buyer, you could be designing the storefronts, you can be, laying out the floor plan to create a really enjoyable and like cohesive shopping experience. Like it just has so many different like segues that you can kind
Mm-hmm.
of go. And I think that somebody that is really into fashion but doesn't necessarily want to be at the sewing machine every day, merchandising is an amazing option because it allows you to be immersed in the fashion industry, but also like kind of still have your own personal
Mm-hmm.
like taste set in, especially like with being a stylist. Like I feel like we can, with like Zendaya stylist or Dua Lipa stylist, like they have very specific looks that you can tell that stylist is behind. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of what drew me to merchandising.
Yeah, I totally agree. Whenever I say that like I'm a fashion major or go to a fashion school, people always just assume that like I'm a designer, which
Yeah.
I think that they just don't really like know how many like different paths you can go on when you're in the fashion industry. Um, but I'm not a designer. I do know how to sew, but I have so much respect for designers because the creativity and the hard work that goes into it is just insane. So much respect, but personally, not for me. I again love to sew on my like random things, like whenever I have a free time. But I don't think I could make it a career personally. I also am more on the merchandising side. I'm a merchandising marketing major, and I love it because, like I just said, like there's so many paths in the fashion industry, and merchandising marketing gives you like a good basis for so many. Like you can go and be a buyer, you can go and be a stylist, you can go more on like the social media side of things. Um so I love the major. For any college listeners currently, I mean, if you're looking into fashion and you don't want to be a designer, merchandising marketing is definitely my favorite. But FITM, where I go to school, has literally like a billion different majors, things that I don't even
Wait,
understand. I go to FITM.
I love that. I honestly wanted to go there so bad in high school, but I don't know why I didn't like go through with my application. Who knows? But
Well, it's
cool.
amazing. If you ever, after your gap year, if you decide you spontaneously want to transfer, come visit
Yeah.
me. We'll hang
No,
out.
I'm really like right now because of the gap year, it's like, I'm definitely gonna be moving within the next year. So I'm
Mhm.
like, California, New York, California, New York. Like
California. That is the my mind, I'm like, okay, like I am in LA currently, and I chose LA over New York for college. But after college, or maybe do I want to transfer, or maybe whatever, and like what's gonna happen? LA, New
Uh,
York, LA, New York.
no, I bet. Like it, the constant debate of New York, LA. Like how do you choose? Because they both have so many positives and negatives.
I know.
Like, but I will say, New York Fashion Week almost killed me because having to not be there and
Yeah,
see like all of my friends
yeah.
post. Oh my god, I'm going to lose my mind.
I will be honest, I am not someone that experiences fear of missing out like that often. The amount that I felt FOMO on New York Fashion Week, I would have just
It's
passed, like I could have just passed away. Like
no, it's literally because it's just like when you're based in places where a lot of stuff is happening, like, you're in LA, so I'm sure that there are like many events that like you're able
Mhm.
to solely because you're in LA, and
Right.
like I live in the middle of the country, so
Ah,
like
ah.
well, it's not the country. Listeners, I don't live in the country. I live in a city in a southern state. So
Ooh.
clarification. And my like everybody here is like we're our own state. Like we're not the rest of the state. So
We don't
Memphis,
associate. We don't.
yeah, like so yeah. But safe to say, because I'm here, I was not able to be in New York. And I feel like when you're based in those places, like the invitations are much easier to get a hold of.
Mhm.
Obviously, your literal appearance at the show, like all of that, it's like, yeah, New
It
York
was
needs
painful.
to
New York's looking good every single day.
it never bad to me. And like every time I've visited, it's just like, yeah, I just love New York so
Yeah,
much.
love it. I
I'm
think I
also,
ended up choosing LA because I'm from the East Coast, so like New York was
mm,
like a 2 hour train ride. So I always went. And so I was like, oh, like I love New York, but like I'm always there. So like let me go to California. And then I came to California and I was like, so the way that I'm across the country from everyone I love, maybe New York's looking better.
yeah. So honestly, like I think that that is so interesting that you bring that up. Like little side note about any college listeners that are thinking about leaving everyone they know and love. My one of my best friends, she actually is in San Francisco right now, and
Oh,
she used
really?
here, and she was like, I love it so much, but I don't have like my best friends here. And that's like, it's hard to like really enjoy and experience and fully immerse yourself if you don't have like, your core people, or they're not able to visit as much. And that's not necessarily saying like, this is not me saying like, yeah, make sure you go where all of your high school friends go.
Yeah. No.
We literally met in college, but I am saying you do want to make sure that you're in a place that feels fulfilling for you and also feels like comfortable to be in, like whether you have your friend, your boyfriend, like some, or just somebody that you know in the city. Like it can be a real game changer to enjoying that experience. And I definitely think in industries like fashion and social media, it can get pretty lonely because there's a lot of work that goes into all of it. Like that's another thing when people like diss social media. I'm like, okay, bitch, like you do not know how much work goes into this. Like,
I spend every waking moment. Like I literally woke up at what 8:30 today, and I hopped on a podcast, and then I have to hop on another podcast, and then I'm going to be editing at like every single piece of content. I have literally like months of YouTube videos, like 18 podcasts to edit, Instagram posts to get ready, social medias to run. Like I was like, it is not an easy task.
no, like, am I slightly drowning? Yes, but
Do we
I
persevere? Yes.
look good while doing it. So
Anyways, um, let's get a little bit back on track here.
yeah,
I
like,
loved the conversation flowing. I just have a few other questions. So
yeah, with them.
this is more on the sustainability side of things. I know that you're like you tend to upcycle things. Do you go thrifting a lot? And do you go thrifting kind of because and like do you upcycle and go thrifting also because of like that sustainability aspect of things?
So honestly, like it's I think sustainability is very important in any way that we can practice it. I do think the conversation of sustainability can have a lot of misinterpretation. I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are like, fast fashion equal bad. So we are going to tell everybody that ever shops fast fashion that they're evil. That was definitely a trend on TikTok for a while. And I think like that is definitely majorly like excluding plus size people that like very much depend on a lot of these fast fashion brands to even cater to their size, because a lot of these like higher end and more sustainable brands, it's like small, medium, large, and
Mm-hmm.
that should not work for everybody.
Right.
And like, as long as you're shopping mindfully and not doing these $600 Shein hauls of things that you're going to throw away in 2 weeks. Like, I have things from Shein that I have had for a year and a half and I take very good care of, and I really enjoy the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that they're fast fashion and that it's not like it's something that is like such a bigger issue than I think is just solely the consumer. I do not think that you need to be mass purchasing like things fast fashion if you can thrift. But I do think, obviously the corporation's fault and the capitalist system in which we are a part of, it can definitely be hard to avoid it sometimes when looking for certain things. But I think just like really being mindful about what you're purchasing, and like the question says, like thrifting is such a great option for that. And thrifting is something that I think like it's so cool, because the reason I love thrifting the most is because there's no like there's gendered sections, but like there's really no like size range or style range or
Mm-hmm.
like seasonal set. Like it's everything,
Right.
and you know what you're gonna find. Like I literally have found like some of the craziest pieces thrifting.
Right.
Like all of my friends, not to toot my own horn or anything, but like a lot of them are like, Mark, like how do you find such good things? And I'm insane, and the thrift gods love me. That answer, because I will scour the thrift store and like I come out with the coolest stuff, and it's genuinely like so much fun to like happen upon a piece that somebody like once loved and once like cared for. They're passing it on. You get to give it a new life. And like it's just like honestly my favorite way to like enjoy fashion in a way that doesn't like exceed a budget, or like it's not hard to access. Like everybody can pretty
Mm-hmm.
much access a thrift store, and so that's why I really think it's super fun that I can show people how to like upcycle things and also like enjoy a thrift store, and like you know like really encourage people to like get out there and get creative with their own style, because I think thrift stores are a huge reason why my personal style has developed as much as it has. Like I was saying earlier, fast fashion is like, if you're doing it like in quantities, like it can be great, like if you want certain pieces here and there. But the true answer to cultivating your own style, I think, is like really immersing yourself in a place that is not going to have like your set trend
Mm-hmm.
section you can buy from. Like you have to figure it out on your own and like put it together. And it's taken me years to like feel super confident in my personal style. And this past year, I think I've really like come into myself, and I can credit the thrift stores for that.
I 100% agree with everything said. I as well really think like thrift stores for my style nowadays because when I was in the past when I didn't know like how harmful fast fashion was and just the fashion industry in general, I would go to these fast fashion stores and I would shop there, and I would buy the same things that probably like everyone else was wearing at that time, because most people shop fast fashion stores. And so if you buy something in that store, most likely someone else probably has it too.
Yeah.
Um, for example, just top of my head, Urban Outfitters. When I was in like, I don't like freshman year of high school, maybe there was this one T-shirt, and it was like an orange T-shirt with a sun on it, and it
Mhm.
had this like, oh my
Oh,
god,
wait. Was it the shirt?
everyone and their mother had that shirt, and I remember I wanted it so badly because everyone had it. And then I learned more about like the fashion industry and fast fashion and all that stuff, and I started thrifting more. And like you said, everyone like is like, Lexi, what the fuck? Like, what thrift stores are you going to? And I'm just like, dude, it's the thrift gods. I believe in the thrift gods.
Literally.
I am only religious in one aspect, and that is to the thrift gods. Um,
For real.
and um, exactly like you said, like there is no set style in that store. There is no like, you are just sifting through a bunch of completely different pieces of clothing, with completely different size ranges, completely different styles, completely different fabrics, colors, everything. Um, and you are just picking what you genuinely like. And so then you are pairing those things with other things that maybe you thrifted or maybe you got from a fast fashion store or whatever. But you are like literally finding things that you just enjoy, and that you think that you would wear. And I like fully believe that I have thrift stores to thank for my like growing expression with the use of fashion, because of that like kind of like random selection that they have. But
Yeah.
anyway, I also agree with, if what people kind of set up the fast fashion industry to be like, if you shop there, you're an evil human being. I don't think you're evil whatsoever. I personally shopped fast fashion my entire life up until like, I don't know, like a year ago. And I think that's just because, again, like so many people, when you think of the fashion industry, you just think like, oh, I'm gonna buy a piece of clothing, I'm gonna wear it, and then whatever. But and that's how most people think of the fashion industry, and so you don't even know like what goes on, like how people aren't getting paid correctly or aren't working in the right whatever, and what the clothes that you are wearing or buying is made out of, and how long it's going to last you, and how that affects people and whatever. um so I don't at all think that anyone's evil. Even if you know this, it's physically impossible to become fully sustainable overnight. I have clothes from Urban Outfitters and South Under and whatever that I've been wearing since that I've had since literally like middle school, and they've just lasted me that long, or beginning of high
No.
school, and they've just lasted me a long time. So when people ask me and they're like, oh, where's that dress from? And I'm like, oh, it's from Urban Outfitters, but like I don't shop at Urban Outfitters anymore. But it was from like middle school, and it's just like lasted me a really long time. Um, so anyways, I don't think any like that anyone is evil, and I don't think that, shopping fast fashion is um necessarily terrible. I think it has a lot of like, obviously like negative impacts on people and on the planet, but it's like, again, physically impossible to become fully sustainable overnight. I am literally a sustainable influencer, and I am not 100% fully sustainable 100%
Yeah.
of the time. I'm a human being. So I think as long as people are just literally making those like tiny little efforts to become more sustainable, whether that's thrifting instead of going to Shein that one time, is that great, like is such a great like first step.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I totally like agree with the fact that like I've seen like a few people like make like jokes on TikTok about like like people in the factory like keep making my clothes, like I'm gonna keep
Yeah,
buying from, like, okay, you're gross.
yeah, no,
Like you're consciously making a decision
yeah,
to
no.
like whenever I have purchased from fast fashion, it's really only in a case where I'm like, this is a piece that I am very obsessed with that I
Yes,
could afford right now
yes,
in any other setting, and it's something that I can see myself wearing multiple times and I am going to take care of,
yes,
and I'm not over consuming. I think that's the best way that you can approach fast fashion, but if you're doing it from a point of perspective where, because this is where I have the biggest issue, and I think we all can agree on this, is the like rich kids that literally could like buy sustainable in a heartbeat, and have every chance to, but they just do their sheet balls and then they go to the like resell children's clothes. It's just like, whoa, okay, like.
So you touched also on like just like social media a lot before, and I want to just kind of make our way back to social media really quickly. So social media in general has its pros and cons. Me personally, I've experienced so much freaking hate on social media, and I don't have quite the platform that you have. So I just kind of want to hear what your experience has been with social media. Like, do you ever struggle with receiving, I guess, like quote unquote hate? And then if you do, how do you kind of handle it?
Okay, so very interesting question, because kind of this has been a process for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I first got on social media, I, my first big thing to ever blow up was actually before I even did fashion. It was a picture of me in front of some like protesters at Gay Pride, and I
Mm-hmm.
wrote a whole caption, and it kind of like mini blew up and like got like 300 comments, which at that time for me was like so much.
Right.
And I, oh my god, these are like strangers, like who is this? And a lot of them were like commenting hate about like, me being like gay, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, hey. So it kind of like affected me in a microcosm there for the first time that I had ever experienced it. I was like, oh my god, like this is a lot. And then I was like, wait. These like random ugly like middle-aged people like commenting like that I'm gonna go to hell. LOL, like why do I care? And so we were kind of good. And then TikTok started. And TikTok is a double-edged sword, because literally people will eat your ass and like tell you that they're obsessed with you and they everything to do with everything that you've ever created. And then the next post they'll literally tell you to go die. And so it's like, okay. My brain, I feel like human beings are not supposed to have this much back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
but it is what it is. So usually when I have gotten hate, it's usually like on an outfit or like something that I'm saying, or like somebody like making fun of me in some way. I haven't gotten like too much recently. I think I've kind of boiled my content down to like a point where it's like, okay, girl, like I'm giving you like a free pattern to a shirt. If you're about to hate on this, like that is to affect me. Like if you don't want to make the free shirt, like I'm not gonna sit here and make you. But I had people like comment before, like I was really proud of this like one DIY I made. It was like an asymmetrical like little top thing, very like off the beaten path of like what I post. It was definitely a risk, like, and I thought it would do really well, and it did gain some traction, but for the wrong reasons. People were like, this is so ugly, like who the fuck made this, like you really thought you ate that? And I was like, and I was really affected by it for a few days, but then I was like, oh wait, like these people are gonna be like eating my ass and like like literally I posted in a really good outfit that like I knew would like it was in those like green like Saks Potts pants and like a fur like airbrush t-shirt.
I know this outfit.
Yeah, everybody was like obsessed with that. I was like, okay, like I know what y'all like to like and so that's what I remind myself is anytime I get hate on something, number one, secure people don't hate on other people. That is the biggest thing that I had to learn is people that are secure in themselves, that feel very like confident about like who they are as a person. 9.5 times out of 10, that person is like, maybe they're just like bitchy, like they want to comment like a little something, but most of the time, like they're just insecure. And so you have to that like it's literally them projecting their own insecurities. And also like when you're doing something that is like off the beaten path, like out of the ordinary, pushing the envelope a little bit, you're not going to be met with the greatest responses. Like you like people are not going to be obsessed with like everything you do. I think any like person in social media or just like in the public eye in general has obviously had moments where like the public is not vibing with what they're putting out, you know?
Right.
And so I remember everything is a process. This may not be your best work, but it actually may be. And people years later might look back on it and be like, what? Like, this is the coolest thing ever. And then you're like, yeah, I know, right? I was just like, literally.
You're like, yeah, I'm aware. Thank you.
But yeah, so I've kind of like boiled it down to whenever I get hate now, I like literally look at the person and usually it's like no profile, one follower, follow back. I'm like
user 1358 now.
literally,
and you're like, all right.
Oh, I'm scared. Like, because it's like I'm the one that like has hundreds of videos of me like talking and being vulnerable on the internet, not you, and you can never do that. So
exactly.
That's literally just what you have to remind yourself. Like social media, it can be scary, it can be daunting to think about all the hate you might be getting, but if you're brave enough to do it, that's a big step. And not a lot of people are. And that's why they're the ones sitting on their fucking bed, screen hating. So like
exactly.
I say, like, this is not me trying to be on my holier than thou pedestal, but I think you might relate to this. Like, because I've talked to a lot of people about the fact, like, none of us have ever left hate comments on other people's like videos or pictures. Like, I can't think of like something that I've really ever said or done like on social media where I was like intentionally trying to hurt somebody. Like, the only time this girl was like talking about her ugly ass ex-boyfriend that like fucked her over, like something random that popped up on my For You page was like, he is ugly. Like, that's the worst thing that like I've ever done. And people really do feel so comfortable like asserting their unasked for opinion, so you just kind of have to let it roll on off.
Yes, literally, exactly. Every word you said, like, yes. I don't think I've ever, I don't even like, I would feel so bad even like saying that to someone's face,
Right.
or behind their back. Like, I don't like, I just don't want to say anything mean in general. Like, it just treat people with kindness. Wise words from hairstyles. And and I just like couldn't imagine like putting that up on, especially because I know what it's like. Like, why would I ever want to do that to somebody else? And just like what you said about like they're probably insecure, it says so much more about the person that commented that on your post than it does about you. What it has nothing to do with you. Literally, it's probably their day was shitty or they're insecure or whatever, and they just decided that you were like an easy target and they decided to comment on your post. I exactly like what you said. It was quite the process to kind of like see people posting, especially in high school, because just like people were so mean in high school. Like, I just cannot believe the shit that like people did. And I look back now at like screenshots I have of like people posting about me being like, oh my God, like who does she think she is? Or like whatever. And I was like, how did you think that like that was okay? Like, I was like 14 years old. Like, I was like a literal fucking child. I am still a literal fucking, well, I guess I'm an adult, I'm 18, but I'm like a child. Like, no, like like I just don't understand how like that. I just look back now and I'm just like mind blown because I was like, I cannot believe that like people thought that that was okay, like in general. And then um like again, like what you said, like we are so vulnerable and that's on social media, and that's something that they could probably never do, and they just see that as like something that they need to bring down because we're easy targets. And then like you said about like shit you make in the future, probably like maybe someone's hating on it today but someone will love it tomorrow. If you think of like everything ever at some point that thing that you love has gotten hate. What's something that we use on a day-to-day basis? Apple products. If you have an iPhone, do you know how many people hate on iPhones in the world? Like, majority of the world. Like, only 10% of people use Apple products. So majority of the world actually fucking hates Apple products. And yet all of us use Apple products. All of us, like, we all love Apple products. If you literally, what's Bohemian Rhapsody got so much shit in their day, that song. And now what? Look at it. Everyone loves Bohemian Rhapsody. That song comes on and we're all like pouring our hearts out to that song, or anything
Jennifer's
in
Body.
fashion.
That's an example. Like that
Yes.
movie got such bad ratings when it first came out, and like it's like the hottest movie ever. Like we all
Yes,
love.
or just like literally like things that are so like casual to us, and not, I mean, flapper dresses back in its day got so much hate, and I mean, obviously none of us are going out in flapper dresses, but we all love that. Like we all look back and we're like, holy crap, like that was such an amazing time of fashion history. But yet,
Yeah.
like everyone was seen as like, oh, that's too scandalous. Like, oh no, like that is too sexy. That is too out there. That is whatever. Like it got hate. So it's just interesting how like you can hate on my thing, but like on my TikTok, on my thing that I made on whatever, but like
Mm.
that's just you. Or maybe it's just 3 people, or maybe it's just 5 people, or however many people, but all these 1 million people are also loving it. So like,
Yeah.
am I
No.
really gonna like lose sleep over your 3 comments? It's so funny too, because it just helps with the algorithm. Like the other day, I posted this TikTok and it didn't get even like it got like, I don't know, like 28,000 views. Um, and I just didn't understand why, because I was like, I literally just put like a dress on with a button down and a sweater. Like it's like a very basic outfit. And I just didn't like comprehend why I got like views in general. And then
Mm.
people started commenting and they were like, is this a joke? And I was like, what what about this outfit is so crazy? I was like, it's really like I was going to school. Like it's one of my like more like boring fits. And then someone else commented and they're like, I shouldn't like it, but I do. And I was like, okay, well, thank
Maybe you. Like,
thank
maybe.
I was like, oh, cool. Why shouldn't you? I just don't, I just didn't understand. And then I was like, okay, but look at all this love I'm getting. Like, I was like, there was someone who was like, where are your millions of followers that you should have? Like, this outfit's so cute. Oh my God, I love this. Like, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, so why am I going to lose sleep over 2 comments that couldn't decide whether or not they liked my fit? Even though I didn't care. Like, it was a boring fucking fit. Like,
No, right.
I don't even like this fit that much.
No, I so understand that though. Like I definitely have had moments where it's like I'm like literally getting stressed over like comments that like so outweighed by the positive, and
Yeah.
it can be like shit, like what? And then it's like, okay, girl, like get it together, get it together. Like the I think it just ultimately comes down to the fact that like you have to realize like this is your life, your own existence. You need to dress and exist how you want to, as long as it's not hurting anybody.
Exactly.
Like you need to really like push yourself and like it like enjoy the times that you can wear what you want to wear. Like so I don't know, when people decide to like get hateful about that, I'm like, you're just sad that you're like in Old Navy jeans and like the same like fucking outfit that you've been wearing since what, middle school? Like because mom pick your outfits out, like I'm assuming. um,
No, literally. And I think that social media is just such a balancing act, and it's all about, you know, like weighing the pros and cons and really focusing on like the positive ends of it rather than like scrolling through and focusing and losing sleep over those negatives, because they are so not worth the sleep that you lose. Anyways, thank you so much for coming on with me today. Where can people find you on social media?
So you can find me, all of my socials, even my Venmo and Cash App, are M4RKCUNP. So basically just Mark Culp, but instead of the A in Mark and the L in Culp, it's just a 4 and a 1, 14, because my birthday's September 14th. So, you know, we have that
Oh
that
my
little.
God, so smart. So smart. I love that. Again, thank you. I literally had the most amazing time speaking with you today.
No, me too. I like forgot we're like filming a
I
podcast.
know. No, literally, I'm like, well, we keep getting off track, and then I'm like, oh shit, questions.
No,
Well, everyone, don't forget to follow Mark on their social medias. And while you're at it, you can follow me. My Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok are all at Lexi Silverstein. That's Lexy, silver like the color, STEIN. And remember to make the ordinary extraordinary.